So we can start. I'm going to introduce our guest from Lithuania, Headless. He will talk about how run browser using PHP, so headless browsers, Chrome, for example, and how to automate UI testing using PHP and Chrome and Docker. So please.
So hello. Я по-русски понимаю очень плохо, и я буду говорить по-английски. As colleague already introduced me, I'm Headless. I'm a software developer from Lithuania, a company called NFQ. And today I'm going to talk about headless browsers, similar technologies. For those who are new to the term headless browsers, basically it's a browser like Firefox, Chrome, Edge, but only the special version, a version where you don't need to have the monitor, the mouse, or the keyboard. And basically it's needed for easier automation. And when I was preparing for the presentation, basically the problem I was facing was that as a software developer, I was doing same task again and again, and it was something wrong. I need to automate it. Most of the tasks were based on some pages that can be accessible via browser. And today I'm going to talk about those technologies. Well, there are a lot of articles on the internet about Selenium and Phantom.js, but today I want to talk about different technologies. Basically, my presentation will consist of 3 parts. First will be how to simulate browser using plain PHP and what are the real use cases for that. Another way to simulate browser will be about Chrome Headless. The headless Chrome version, and it will be mostly related to JavaScript. And the last way to simulate browser will be the UI testing, and usually it could be done via Docker. So let's start from the PHP side, because it's PHP Night meetup, and I tried various programming languages, and in PHP it is easiest way to download content of a web page, and you can say, so what, it is easy, and what's the benefit of it? And the benefit from my personal experience, it is, for example, it is very easy to create a simple status page. And for those who are new to the term status page, so basically it's summary of what services are running and what services are not. So if you make a big change, and instead of clicking all the services and checking if all are alive, it's better to run some script and see which service is down, and to pinpoint the problem. And I used it mainly for my pet projects and some small projects. But same status pages are used in big companies such as Amazon Web Services. And there was an interesting situation when S3 was down, and non-technical people looked at the status page and saw, hey, icons are green, so everything is okay. But the reason that the problem was that the status page was using the same S3 to show either red icon or the green icon. So the lesson Amazon learned was not use same infrastructure for status pages and from the actual services. And if we go back to the simplicity of the PHP, because of that target content is the built-in function, and there's a big community, big ecosystem of PHP and shared hosting, it is very easy to set up status pages on very cheap shared hosting all around the world, or even on the free shared hosting. So it is easy to do and you get the benefit. So for my case, I used Slack as a backend because I had a situation when I got 500 emails and was not able to distinguish between the important ones and just error messages. And Slack has a very good integration. For example, the incoming webhooks, basically it's easy to configure them, and it gives you URL where you can just post and everything RPS on Slack. So the final script that actually works and give added value looks like this. So here you can see the getting the content of the page, for example, to check if this event site is running, then some simple checking to see if content is expected, for example, some words, and you don't expect some PHP errors, and there's in a smaller font some formatting and some magic from string content create, because I wanted to use the same function for getting the content and the post request. And basically it works, and very similar code runs for my status page. And PHP, with PHP you can simulate browser, and it's very easy, but of course you may need more features, for example, to get status, HTTP status, to work with streams, to have some links, and go on and on. And there's a huge ecosystem of that, and you can do everything with PHP until you get the JavaScript. The pages that depends on JavaScript, well, that's a hard thing, and you cannot finish the work just using PHP. So, just to summarize the first part, you can simulate browser, the simple functionality of browser using the plain PHP, and one of the use cases could be a status page. But if you need more features, so you may need another application. And another interesting application is Headless Chrome. Basically, it's a few months ago, Chrome announced that they released the headless version, basically allowing the usual Chrome to use to run not only in desktop environment, but also like via command line, and not require to have monitor, so it's easier to run it on a server. And in practice it looks something like this. So you write the parameter headless, some way to communicate it, for example that remote debugging port and the URL to open the window. And if you just see that port number when you're starting to learn this technology, well, it's kind of hard because you don't know what to do with it. So basically, Headless Chrome has some built-in functionality for common tasks. For example, if you want just to get the generated content of the page, or you just need to get a screenshot or preview of the page. And the last common thing is you want to print the page or some elements in it. And you can see that there's different words like Chromium, Beta, etc. Basically, Chromium is the open source version of the Chrome. So it usually have all the functionality, or most of the functionality of the Google Chrome. And stable version has all these capabilities, debugging, dump and screenshot, but it doesn't have the printing to PDF, so you need a better version because it's not released yet. And when I tried it, I faced some issues. Basically, when you write a port number, usually you check localhost, something appears, and then you click on it and it's not found. So basically the issue was that the front end for the debugging interface and the back end that really runs inside the Chrome is different, and people just keep the latest version deployed, and all the old ones just removed. So easy fix is just to copy the first part from the newer version, and you get your debugging console working. Okay, so when you have something working, so first thing to check is how it differs from how Headless version differs from the desktop version. Basically, you can't do everything. Every JavaScript engine is the same, and that looks the same. And there is a slight difference. There's for the desktop version, there is just Chrome, and if you use the Headless packet, you change that element. So if you are a backend developer and you're checking some logs and you see something like Headless Chrome, so probably somebody is crawling you and using your data. So it's also good to know, not only from ones who are automating things, but also from ones who don't want others to read their data. So I checked the official documentation, and there was, for example, written in Node.js. So basically you as the user agent and you can override it. So yeah, we are happy with the Chrome part, so nobody will distinguish that, but still there's one header that also included in the Headless version, so it's DevTools request ID, and well, I haven't managed to remove it in a stable version, so the only thing you can do is just port your Chrome version and remove it, and if you really need the exact behavior as in desktop version and Headless version. And now I'm standing in the PHP Night and talking about Node.js examples, so shame on me. And when I was Googling how to do it, I saw that it's kind of strange that you need to set override and then again pass the user agent. It's kind of uncommon. And then I found that, hey, the actual protocol is a simple WebSocket. So WebSocket is a common format, and PHP also has a client, so we can similarly with this just pass some arguments to WebSocket. Well, this basically means that you want to have notifications about network to know when the page loaded and not to wait forever, and very common operation just to go to the page. So basically, you can use only PHP and communicate directly from a driver and do a lot of stuff. And if we check all the potential that Headless Chrome can give, for example, there are some APIs that give you only the part of the capabilities you want. And for example, Facebook API allows you to read the data about the event, but not to create one, not to duplicate, not to invent. So you can use some bots or virtual browsers to do the rest. Another thing, there was this discussion how to incorporate the diagrams into email, because usually most of the libraries that are painting diagrams are written in JavaScript and they look beautiful on the browser, but we know that in the mail JavaScript does not work well, so you can just take a screenshot to a Headless browser. Also, there are restrictions, for example, by YouTube if you have some content that is available only in one country and it does not allow you to embed it. And for example, in NFQ, well, the company I work, we have a dashboard and we have a Slack bot to show some video on the common monitor, so it's kind of fun. Unless you send some link of a video that is restricted, so it can be solved with a Headless browser, just opening the different tab and watching the video. And also there was a kind of interesting discussion who will win the advertisers or the ad blockers. So Headless Chrome also can stream the images of the content of a page, so you basically can just recognize the parts where the advertising is and the GIF blur at once, and so on. In the end, the ad block will win. So just to summarize this part, Headless browsers is a very interesting technology and has a lot of opportunities. Well, basically, the Phantom.js development is stopped because of the Headless Chrome, and so it's the full-blown JavaScript engine. It uses not many resources, not much RAM, well compared to the other section I will talk about, and it gives a lot of monitoring about what your application is really doing. On the other hand, it's for the common use cases, it needs some hacking or needs better infrastructure because the technology is quite new and ecosystem is very young. And another way to simulate browser is not to change the browser, but change the environment where the browser is and use the existing one. And this can be done with the Docker or the UI testing in general. Basically, before the Selenium and all the browsers, the user interface was tested using the just faking the input devices and faking the monitor. And one of the common way to do it is use virtual frame buffer, because, for example, in Linux system, you don't. There is a X server that connects everything from the input devices and passes it to the kernels, and it doesn't care is it a real monitor or is it some frame buffer in the RAM, and it works perfectly. And the only thing you need to is just tell which screen to use it and tell the program that, for example, Firefox or Chrome, that you should use this display port. So you can reuse every Selenium test. For example, there was a talk before that there was a behavior test, and if I understood the Russian language correctly, so it was running quite slow, so you can just split it into multiple ones and run it in parallel, because Docker isolation then use the same Selenium or behavior or something like that. And when you try to do it, the first thing you will hit is the question how to debug it, because there is a frame buffer in the memory and you don't see it because there is no monitor connected. And because using Docker you can run the almost full Ubuntu distribution. That means that you can run the run remote desktop client and remote desktop servers. So basically, in the Docker you run some Visual Desktop server, and you can use the usual ones to connect it. And if you run the remote desktop server, basically you will get a big notice that hey, it's not secure, everything can change, everything in your computer. But what's very good about Docker is that it is very easy to control which ports can be accessed from which host and from which element. So basically, instead of allowing everybody to connect to this port, you just limit to localhost, and for example, on localhost you just debug is everything working okay. And instead of using some Selenium tests and Selenium functions, for example, go to page or to open a tab or click that link, using when you simulate the whole monitor, whole mouse, or even keyboard, there's already many tools that just simulate the actual input devices. For example, you can move the mouse or click to change the tab, and to go to another page, you just need to just to remove all old one and type letter by letter the address and hit return. So basically, there's a lot of theory, so I thought it would be very fun to just give you a little demo.
Okay. And yeah. Where's my mouse?
Yeah, and as you can see, basically what just happened is this is a remote desktop client, the usual one, and it just clicked the between tabs and replaced the hyperlink. Basically, then it executed those commands. So that and the very good thing about Docker is that you made some difficult input methods. For example, the main, if you're using some Selenium, you cannot test the dragging file from the folder into the site, because, well, you need to simulate some JavaScript command, but using that you can just click the actual file outside of the browser and drag it directly into the browser. So there's much bigger possibilities. And of course, what's very good about Docker is if you messed up something, so you just You know, it's difficult.
The pinpoint. Huh?
Well, yeah. Well, you haven't saw the actual one, but basically you saw that the connection was broken because I just killed all the containers, and you can add a lot of very complex tests. So, if you, it's very well. For me personally, the beauty of a Docker is in testing, and then you do something right, you automate it, and it's very easy to repeat it and fix if something happened wrong. So, yeah. So going back to the presentation, basically, you could do it without a Docker. You could use the different display parameters and run it on the same server. But well, I'm a fan of a Docker because I usually hit the situations where it works on my machine and in production, you know. Yeah, and the disadvantage of using the real browser and using the frame buffer is that it uses 300 megabytes of RAM, and just from the browser uses 30, so it's tenfold. And yeah, you still need some tools to check what's the content of a web browser. So either it's Selenium or you parse some screenshots or whatever. But the advantage of what I see is basically you can have the usual Selenium tests that are running now on your local machine, and you just change the display and put it in either in Docker or just in a simple server, and everything works. And another advantage is, those all edge cases. For example, in the modern applications, there are a lot of inputs that are based on touch screen and swiping elements. For example, how you can test that the email came to you or resent it, or even if you have some flash or whatever difficult, less common elements. So the third option can be the savior. So my time is going out, and basically, just to summarize, from my personal perspective, I think that the headless browser technologies is really awesome because it changed how you think about the front end and how you think about back end. Because you can do everything the front end was doing in the browser, and you can just automate it. And there's a lot of new possibilities. And on the other hand, if we compare how many people nowadays are browsing the internet and how many bots are browsing the internet, basically it is important to understand this technology not only to automate your own work because you are lazy, but also to not be a victim of other organizations that using bots to influence some political situations, or I don't know, killing her business because they can fetch the better price and just nobody will buy from you. So that's it from my side. And any questions, preferably in English? Your microphone is still not working.
First of all, okay. First of all, you said that Docker will help to people not be victims, but if Docker will be another tool to send spam or doing some malicious things.
Yeah, well, basically, if I understood the question correctly, you told that Docker is also can be another vulnerability because if everybody is using Docker and it's usually under the root user, so yeah, it kind of can bring you bad things. Well, the difference is that basically you can choose to use Docker on your local machine and for example testing, and there is a lot of movement to improve the quality of Docker. In AWS is EC2 service container. There's Kubernetes on Google Cloud, so there are really a lot of people that are checking the security and all everything that should work correctly and should be good. Basically, if you don't understand the technology and you just pull everything that looks good, so nobody will help you. And yeah, and if you meant another thing that Docker is just another technology to learn, and it will be harder to switch it from Selenium to Docker or something like that. Basically, the difference between, for example, switching between Behat and Conception, you need to rewrite the code. Switching between the running Selenium on your local machine and on the Docker, basically, you just tune the infrastructure and you can not change a line of code and everything will still work the same.
But automation features could be quite evil.
Well, which can you give example?
For example, unsalicious Facebook comments or
Well, basically if you hate the bots or the crawlers, the worst thing you can do for them is you can give time to time some bad content there's a movement to automate things, and there's a movement to recognize where is the bot and where it's not, where it's all the capture, all the understanding what is human and what is not. So I think the artificial intelligence are getting more advanced, and we couldn't. Well, basically, one of the examples I heard in the TEDx Vilnius was about the influence of United States election, and basically the interesting example was the bots were adding aggressive comments just for the real people to begin arguing, and in that way to change opinion and do the bad things. So I'm standing here just, and there was a comment that we should talk to the IT person and say that this is happening and you should understand it and you should fix your systems to not be victims. So that's why the only way to fight them is to understand the technology. And,
Ребят, давайте к другому вопросу. У нас еще один спикер, а остальное по...
Okay, I have two questions to you. The first one, how to access responsive headers from Selenium, because it doesn't sense any. And another, you said that we should understand headless browsers to not be victims of other bots. But how can you distinguish real people from headless browsers? Because you cannot just rely on headers or on IP address. How to distinguish them?
Yeah, for the first question, well, I don't remember all the API of Selenium, so probably there's no headers to get unless you have some JavaScript function that can fetch it or get it from the history or something like that. Well, I haven't tried, so I cannot answer that. The second question is basically you can fight for the simple threads and who just read the simple manual and use it, attack it, and from, well, you cannot fight from the very sophisticated ones, and from very sophisticated ones you can, there's, well, a lot of other techniques. For example, there's time to time you just change the button or add captcha or something like that, change the content quite often. I think one of the good examples that can fight the bots is A/B testing, and it has two advantages. Basically, you change the content quite frequently and you improve the site, and also when the content is changing quite frequently, it is rather for bot to navigate and understand it and do harm for it. But for human, well, basically, the impact is slower. Well, it's my personal opinion. There's maybe a better one.
Всем спасибо за вопросы. У нас маленький перерывчик. Давайте уже в кулуар, потому что сейчас третий докладчик будет готовиться. Можно задать лично спикеру.
Важный.
Никто же спикер не уходит.
Нет, просто для всех сказать,
ну,
чтобы
давайте,
это проще
последний
было.
вопрос и все.
Может, я на русском скажу, но чтобы не настраивать всю эту бороду с Selenium, с XBRFB, отдельно поднимать там VNC, есть готовые билды докера с Selenium, там есть уже готовый VNC сервер, там можно выбрать разные версии браузеров, не только Chrome, можно выбрать Firefox. Вот. Также, что для PHP, что для Node.js есть обертки для Selenium. Вот. Для PHP это от Facebook есть классная библиотека, для Node.js есть нативная для Selenium библиотека и веб-драйвер IO. Вот. Ну, собственно, все. Это Selenium, который официальные билды разворачиваются одной командой Docker Run, Selenium, версия Chrome и все. Вот, вместо того, чтобы самим что-то писать и настраивать.
Yeah, basically, if I understood the question correctly, yeah, you told that there's very easy steps, documented steps how to run the Selenium and the Docker, and everything works fine. Well, basically, I'm not telling you that the Selenium is bad or you should not use Selenium or the Docker, etc. Basically, I want to give another three alternatives near the Selenium, and when you need, for example, better metrics, what change, for example, regression testing of which parts were faster or slower or executed. If you have a lot of Ajax queries, for example, so and you made a change, so the Chrome headless browser can log you what changed in which part, so we can fix it faster. And yeah, and if you for cases when you need, I don't know, dragging the file or some touchscreen events, you can use the full-blown virtual frame buffer. If you just need to get this fast and for the common situation, so just use Selenium and official documentation.
It's not just Selenium, it's already built of Docker with various browser versions and built-in VNC support.
Well, it is easier. It is very easy to build a Docker image, and so therefore there are a lot of ready-made recipes.
So, if any questions, you can ask Aurelis personally. So, thank you, Aurelis.